all for being here and giving us the chance, the opportunity to exchange some information and specifically speak about the Expo and the developments that have taken in the past 2 months since the opening of the Expo on 1st of October, as you all know. 196 countries, 200 pavilions, including other, organizations and institutions that have participated at the World Expo. Big, huge numbers of visitors so far. Although the month of October was still quite hot temperature-wise, but still visiting, or the numbers of people visiting the Expo was beyond our expectation. And of course now the weather is Emirates, and we see a big, huge number of visitors, especially from India. As you all noticed, you try and book a flight from any airport in India to the UAE, whether Abu Dhabi or Dubai or Sharjah. It's almost or close to impossible to find a seat, or immediately to find a seat. You can find a seat after 3 months or 2 months or whatever, but to try and fly, working on that, and I hope we'll finalize it and we'll reach to certain clarification from the Indian authorities. As you all know, the COVID-19 situation, and the different protocols that has been applied due to COVID-19 sometimes may be, a barrier for opening up. I'm sorry, I forgot to turn off my but hopefully we will try and get things organized accordingly. I attended the official opening of the Expo on 30th of September, and also I attended the official opening of the India Pavilion on 1st of October. The Honorable Minister of Commerce, Piyush Goyal, officially opened the India Pavilion, and I'm sure most of you were there during the opening of the pavilion. I'm not going to repeat the same thing that we have been repeating so many times before, but you all know that this is the first time a World Expo is organized in our region, in the MENA region. Never ever before, and I remember I was involved with the Expo team from day one when we started putting together and the files for the bidding, and the UAE was amongst another 4 countries that has bid for the World Expo, and that is Thailand, Bangkok, Brazil, Sao Paulo, Turkey, Ankara, Russia, Ekaterinburg, and of course United Arab Emirates, Dubai. And finally we got the total votes in 2013 when the BIE, Bureau International d'Exhibition, which is based in Paris, voted, the majority voted for the hosting of Expo by the United Arab Emirates. And as you all know also, we are expecting somewhere around 25 million visitors during the 6 months of the Expo. Aside from that, there are other type of facilities that the Expo has organized in terms of facilitating visitations of students from across the universities and across schools within the UAE, also from outside the United Arab Emirates. So we're expecting somewhere around more than 200,000 students visiting the Expo. The 24th today and running till December 16th, visitors to the Dubai exhibition halls will be able to see two world-class players go head-to-head. Some of the events, some of the things that we are organizing during the World Expo. Magnus Carlsen from Norway, and the name is so hard, Ian Nepomniachtchi from Russia will start their games this week for about 2.25 million.
What's the other one?
The other one, the first one is Magnus Carlsen, and the second one is Ian Nepomniachtchi from Russia. One of the, I thought I'll mention that because one of the major events that, of course, there are so many different events within, and as you have seen in the past, there are so many different countries, heads of countries have visited the Expo and they celebrated their national day in Expo. The last one, which it happened that I was in the UAE and I attended, was the Brazilian National Day. The Brazilian president was on an official visit, and they celebrated the National Day of Brazil in Expo in the pavilion, Brazilian pavilion in the Expo. Main theme, as you all know, connecting minds, creating a future. That is the main theme, along with three main themes: opportunity, mobility, and sustainability. We have divided the whole Expo and gave the choice to countries to choose whether they want to be in the mobility or opportunity or sustainability. The theme of opportunity would aim to look at solutions to social problems. Mobility will open up avenues to explore new frontiers through the digital connectivity. And the third theme, sustainability, on the other hand, would look at alternative sources in terms of so many different things, specifically food security, water, clean, renewable energy, green energy, and so on and so on. And as you all know, now it is the UAE is actually in the last COP26 meeting that took place in Glasgow. The UAE was able to also win the organizing of COP28 in 2023 in the United Arab Emirates, and that gives the UAE even a bigger status in terms of connecting with the world leaders in renewable energy and clean energy and what we call green hydrogen energy and so on. Some of the main events that has been taken place during the World Expo, as you all know, just last week we had the air show, the Dubai Air Show, and also in Abu Dhabi we had the Index, which is the defense air show. There was also the establishment of ADNOC, a fund called ADFD, inaugurated at the New Dubai International Airport, and Ministry of Happiness launching the artificial intelligence strategy, which was hosted also in Expo, and one of the major events. I'm just sharing for since the opening of Expo. The UAE is embarking on a journey of new milestones and accomplishment, particularly in the field of global scientific research and space exploration. The UAE has achieved excellence in harnessing space technology in the service of mankind. The launch of the UAE Space Agency and sending first Arab spaceship to Mars, and now the Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Space Agency is working on sending a spaceship to the moon, and to the other side of the moon, to the dark side of the moon, which nobody has ever reached to. So there are plans and works on doing that. The UAE lately also, from their new strategy and the vision of in the next coming 50 years, we have created a program to attract brains, to attract scientists, doctors, students, attract many different categories of people into the UAE, and we have started a program by offering them what we call the golden visa and the silver visa. Golden visa is a 10-year visa for certain categories of individuals, and the silver visa also is a 5-year visa renewable for certain categories of individuals. Looking at the past 2 months and the effect of the organizing or opening of the Expo, and especially after the pandemic. As you all know, the Expo was supposed to be officially opened in October 2020, but due to the pandemic, we have postponed it to October 2021. But looking from October 2021 until today, and a little bit maybe before that, there was a major turnaround in the economic curve in the United Arab Emirates, and there is a big growth in many different sectors in the UAE, especially in the certain sectors within the real estate, in terms of villas and standalone villas and homes. Also the other sectors, the part of the new vision of UAE concentrates on what we call advanced technology manufacturing. We are concentrating on education and creating new protocols and systems of education. Of course, healthcare is an important sector also that we're looking at. And as I mentioned earlier, renewable energy and clean energy. The UAE has announced zero carbon emission by the year 2030. And this is one of the things that we work very closely with, especially with India, in the renewable energy. We work very closely with India and the airspace, as I mentioned, and in the ITC, and also the artificial intelligence. As you all know, the first artificial intelligence university was set in Abu Dhabi, offering master degrees in AI, and the ITC is another area of collaboration. Of course, aside from the two traditional sectors, and that is the foreign trade, and also the oil and gas and the downstream industry and all that. And there are lots of collaboration also between India and UAE in the downstream and in the upstream in the UAE, and I'm sure you have been covering all those news that has been announced by the different authorities within the UAE. I was talking about the golden visa, and since we introduced the system of the golden visa, until today we have issued about 44,000 golden visas for different nationalities, different people, and made it easy for them to reach to the UAE, to live in the UAE, to do their own business in the UAE, and so on and so on. Talking about all this also, I need to mention the status of women in the UAE. It has flourished in parallel with the country's growth since the federation, since the establishment of the federation, 1971. It is evident across the UAE that women today constitute a vital UAE workforce. They consist of almost 60% of our total workforce. As you all know, they consist of 30% of our numbers of ministers in the cabinet. They consist of 30% of the total numbers of our ambassadors all over the world. 30%. We have 7 ambassadors, female ambassadors. We have 9 female ministers. And another big proof, my staff here at the embassy, 50% of them are female. So the role of women is increasing, and there is a lot of support from the government toward gender equality, women, and also not only that, the participation of women in the economic activities. I do recall in the early 90s we created, or I was part of the Dubai Chamber of Commerce at that time, and we created the very first Dubai Businesswomen Council, which led to the creation of UAE Businesswomen Council, which led us, when I was in the Dubai Quality Group, to create an award, Businesswoman Award, choosing or benchmarking from best of practices, choosing the best of the KPIs and choosing the best of the judges. And this has become a big major event that is organized every year now by the Dubai Quality Group, which comes under the umbrella of the Department of Economic Development of Dubai. 30% of our Federal National Council, the parliament, are women. Some of them by election and some of them by appointment. As you all know, 50% of the parliament is appointees and 50% are elected. I thought that, you know, I'll just share with you some of those highlights, and as you all know, I mentioned that our celebration of the Golden Jubilee, 50 years, and that will be on 2nd of December this year, and that has been paid a lot of attention to, because we do have a big, huge, major program for the next coming 50 years, concentrating on specific sectors, concentrating on, sorry about that. That's okay. Concentrating on IT, ITC, education, health, space, concentrating on renewable energy, clean energy. And now talking about renewable and clean energy, I also need to mention that the UAE was the first country in the Arab world that started using nuclear energy. We have nuclear stations for peaceful usage, as you all know, and we have in Baraka the first phase and the second phase, and 30% of UAE electricity now is covered by nuclear power stations. That is situated in Baraka in Abu Dhabi. The pandemic has taught us a lot of lessons, and majority, I would say, good. Some in terms of you know, some negativities within, but as you all know, the UAE was one of the very first countries, not only in the region but in the world, to be able to overcome the pandemic in a very scientific, in a way that now, if you look at our total cases, I'll give you just one example. Out of 222,000 tests yesterday, we had only 74 cases. So imagine, 224,000 people tested in one day, 74 positive. But then again, 74 positive, those people who have not been vaccinated. 90% of the total UAE population have been vaccinated fully, first and second dose, and some of them boosters. I have I've done the first booster, and then again second, and first and second. So I've had 5 doses so far.
Oh.
Anyways, we're very soon, hopefully. For the past week, as a matter of fact, for the past week, consecutive 7 days, no deaths at all out of COVID. And the numbers runs between 70, 60 daily, and it is decreasing. And hopefully very, very, very soon, we will go to what we call 0 cases. 0 new cases and 0 overall pandemic cases very soon in the United Arab Emirates. This is in general what I thought I will share with you. As you all know, also in the Indian Pavilion, there are weeks for each state, and you know, it looks like the Indian Pavilion, looking at the numbers of visitors. I was talking to His Excellency the Ambassador of India to UAE, and I was talking to the Consul General. It looks like there are big, huge numbers of people visiting the UAE, the India Pavilion and the Expo, and it is rotating from one state to another, to another, to another. So things are rolling and things are happening. The only thing that we are not suffering, but facing a little bit of challenges, I would say, the flights. And under air bubble agreement, we are restricted to carry certain numbers of passengers. As a matter of fact, our main carriers